You feel it too, don't you? Every day's feeling more and more like a rat race. Well, why is that? How'd that come to be? Well, let me try and thread a through line through what I think is the source of all this. Jack Welch. You see, Jack Welch and his consequences have been an absolute disaster for corporate culture, the corporate workplace, and society as a whole. And yet, in spite of all this, his management philosophies come to dominate MBA programs worldwide for decades now, to the detriment of us all. Leader of GE for over 20 years, Jack Welch has come to be known as one of, if not the greatest CEOs of all time, the GOAT, if you will. So let me walk you through today exactly why that was, why he wasn't, and in fact, why he's, if anything, the WOAT.
Make your family's life much brighter. You will find your work much lighter.
Born and who cares to whoever, Jack Welch became CEO of General Electric, or GE, in 1981. But what is GE? What do they do? Everything is the answer. GE is a pillar of American innovation, ingenuity, and industrial output. GE did jet engines, power plants, appliances, radio stations, TV, computing, chemicals, industrial manufacturing, medical equipment, consumer goods. You name it, GE made it. There once was even a turn of phrase that said, as goes GE, so goes the American economy, and to an extent, that was kind of true. Especially considering GE was over 1% of the American GDP at one point. Now you see, Jack had been working at GE since 1960, back when there was still loyalty between company and employee, and you could work your way up from a lowly junior chemist all the way to the youngest CEO in the company's history. This all almost didn't happen for Jack, actually, back in 1963 when a chemical plant he was in charge of had its top blown off. But luckily, his company didn't have the type of policies he'd later institute, and so Jack got to go on. A lot of Jack's early intents and moves were pretty base, to be honest. For one, he ended up gutting all of the old management that let GE become the bloated bureaucratic mess it became, and wanted to bring a small company culture and atmosphere to GE, which is commendable. His execution, though, is why I'm making this video.
You can have more time for fun and pleasure. Family moments you will treasure.
Now you see, the core issue I take with Jack Welch is his vitality curve, or as it's more commonly referred to as rank and yank. You see, it's simple, right? All you do is you rank all your employees from first to last, and then once you line them all up, you go and fire the bottom 10%. It's simple, right? Only issue is that it's an info hazard. It's a mimetic virus. Once you learn about it or see others do it, next thing you know, you're doing it too. It's infectious that way. And so this cognito hazard, it spreads, right? You see, in the first year, it actually is a good beneficial thing. That's why it's so enticing. You start off, you're like, oh, let's fire the bottom 10% of workers. And it's so good. Because I don't know if you've ever been someone who doesn't suck at their job, but it's so demoralizing to see some fuckheads around all day just getting the same pay you do or close to in exchange for none of the work that you gotta do. It's so demoralizing. And so when you get rid of the bottom 10%, it's so nice because now you and the other actual productive people on the team don't have this dead weight carrying around all day, right? It's just so much simpler. And so the first year it happens, everyone's like, oh, it's a good thing, right? But then year two, it happens again, right? You gotta do 10% every year. So year two, it happens, you're like, okay, but it's still good. You know, a lot of improvements still. We're still happy. Year three, you're like, okay. I mean, like, I guess there are some improvements, but like, you know, it's just, we're vibing. It's going well. And then year four hits and you're like, holy Jesus, that didn't improve anything at all. Now I'm just paranoid about my job, right? And this is why it never works out. It's why you should never consider it in spite of how alluring it is, because it's such a short-term mindset to have. It creates this mentality that nothing's permanent. You have no security in your job or wherever you are in life. You're just a fucking grocery bag floating in the wind, just aloft. And just wherever the wind takes you, that's where you're going. And it's terrible for getting any sort of work out of your employees, because if they're never thinking they're going to be here for more than a year, they're never going to give a shit or try and do anything outside of whatever works here and now to keep me in my job one more day, okay? And that is a terrible approach to have to business. In short, it creates a rat race. And you see, at first, it appeared to work well, as it always does. Yeah, over the course of Jack's 20-year career there as CEO of GE, they grew in market cap from $12 billion to over $450 billion. That's an increase of over 37x. Meanwhile, revenue only increased by 4.6 times, but hey, at least profit grew by 8.5. But since the market matters most, Jack was seen as a god. Jack was the golden boy, the first celebrity CEO of the modern era. Jack's word became gospel as a result. Literally was gospel, taught around MBA classrooms worldwide for the next few decades. And so it spread like a disease, like a virus, a mimetic hazard.
Step by step from A to Z helps you live better electrically.
Want a historic example? Look at Microsoft with Steve Ballmer at the helm. Only the elderly may remember this one.
Developers. Yes!
But Steve Ballmer shot up Microsoft so bad that to this day it's marred by this culture of out to get each other, backstabby, no one helps or talks to anyone else except themselves kind of culture that's to this day harming Microsoft's ability to be a competitive and productive company. Want a more contemporary one? Look at Amazon. Both within their warehouses and at the corporate level. And you see, at the warehouses, I forget if this is still the case, but I remember reading an article where they're saying that in the next few years, Amazon, at their current burn rate of employees, will churn through the entire US workforce. Take that in. They are doing such a bad job of employee retention that they're going to eat through every single American worker in a few years. But why is that? I don't know if you guys have ever worked in a warehouse, but I have, and you usually run around all day with a headset screaming at you to go this way, that way, pick these boxes, right? So let's say there's 100 boxes per hour you're supposed to pick at Amazon to start. But then over time, they're like, well, wait, okay, 80% of people can do 120 an hour, so that's the new standard, right? The bar has been raised. But then over time, it's like, okay, well now some fuckface wants their Christmas bonus, so they're gonna start peeing in a Prime bottle instead of going to the washroom, right? And so over time, more and more people get that, and again, they're incentivized to continue to cut corners in weird ways like that. Next thing you know, that's the new standard. And that's the issue with the rat race. We're all fucking each other to the point where now we all are just suffering because we've just competed ourselves in this corner where we have the most absurd standards to meet with ourselves because that's just the standard we've set for each other. It's awful. And that's the issue with the Amazon warehouse workers, right? You see, over time, it's like, yeah, you can keep up this pace for a few months, but as it wears on and on and on, next thing you know, you're going burnout, you're churning through employees, and that's how Amazon's going to run through the whole entire US workforce population in just a few short years. Unless, of course, that article's out of date. I don't know. I'll check into it. But then even at the corporate level, too, if anything, the corporate level's worse. PIP, Performance Improvement Plan, you ever get put on one of those? Quit and find a new job immediately because you're not coming off that shit. The only way you're coming off is on to unemployment. And I think one of the core issues with this whole idea of rank and yank is that eventually, after a few cycles of it, you just run out of bad people to fire. And so you're basically just firing better and better employees every time. And that's Amazon on a macro scale, even at the corporate level. You have all these great employees that are just constantly getting axed because they're just not able to keep up with that running pace for more than a few years. You know, there's multiple CEOs of different companies who have been axed from Amazon over the years because the system itself is not actually efficient. You're not actually making your company and workforce have better and better employees over time. All you're doing is getting rid of great talent and making everyone who stays remember that you don't have any sort of permanence or workplace job security here. No, this job is not a long-term solution for you, okay? Don't have any loyalty. Don't have any future planning, okay? You're only here as long as we care for you to be here. And now you see, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, if I'm a business owner and I see some ex-Amazon employees, I know that they fire a lot of great people. So if anything, Amazon just pre-qualifies people like a university degree used to and say, okay, these people are good. And now you can just hire them without having to deal with a lot of the thought that goes into it, right? Only that's not the case because it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, sure, Amazon employees and ex-Amazoners are great. They're very dedicated. Their work is their life is work, sure. But on the other hand, these guys suck to work with, okay? Because think of the culture it breeds, right? It makes everyone so distrustful, competitive, politicking, backstabby. These people would be awful coworkers. This culture instills sucks dick. And so you see Seattle, where Amazon's based out of, over the years, the businesses in the area have come to actually call ex-Amazon employees am-holes. Because even though they're great as workers individually, the culture they bring with them and just the general vibe is so shit that they just suck to be around. And so many of them just end up avoiding hiring ex-Amazoners in spite of how good they otherwise are on paper. Because even though they're very productive, they've clearly been scarred, marred by this culture, this toxic shithole. Because they're just often politicking, backstabbing, cutthroat, dickheads. I mean, even look at WeWork, right? Adam Newman used to do this system too. Despite growing at a record pace, he would axe the bottom 10% of employees every year. Not because they had any funding constraints. No, he stated the only reason he did it was just because Jack Welch did it, and Jack Welch is a good CEO. Again, WeWork, it's all you need to know, okay? If this guy says he's good and he likes his management philosophy, I think that says enough. Now, you see, it's hard to know how prevalent this whole system and management philosophy is because no one's ever going to advertise it, right? Companies try and obscure and hide the fact that they're doing the system, not just because it's stupid and as an investor, you should flee any company participating in it, but also just because as a prospective employee, who the hell's going to look on and say, yeah, let me sign up for this psychological thriller of an employment? This is my livelihood. This is how I feed my family. Who the hell in the right mind would ever sign up to be subjected to such a system? No one would. That being said, estimates do range from 1 in 10 companies to as much as over half of them doing it. The issue, again, is just that it's the peak of short-termism, short-term thinking, right? GE fell over 80% over the next 2 decades after Jack Welch retired before finally meeting its demise in 2024, being broken apart into 3 companies. One of them was focused on jet engines, another was focused on medical devices, and the final of the 3 was focused on power equipment. Overall, a sad, embarrassing end to a storied American company. This is where this management thinking leads you. And now you see, I could end it here, but the issue is, again, this doesn't stop. None of this stops at companies and corporate culture, okay? It's a mimetic virus, after all. It spreads. It's what it does.
You have to work and slave. You have to work and slave.
You know, I'm a 90s kid. I grew up on a farm outside a small town in rural Nova Scotia, Canada. Never heard of her, and yet, even I cannot remember a time where life wasn't a rat race in every regard. Mind you, I was definitely ahead of the curve amongst my peers in terms of recognizing this fact as such. But it really does feel more and more every day like we're axing the bottom 10%, so to speak, on societal level, right? And, you know, at first I always thought, it's paranoia, you know, I'm just being paranoid, right? But was it? Was I? Because let's be real here. Every day, more and more people, every single year, they're slipping under that knife's edge. Right? Because you see, it starts before you're even sentient, right? As a parent, you gotta make sure your kid goes to the right preschool so that they make the right friends and don't wind up like me, not speaking French, because you gotta enroll your kid in French immersion. You don't want them to be uncultured, right? Like me. And so you wanna make sure that they get set up that way. And then, of course, as a kid, when you're in school, you first come to realizing, I gotta get good marks, because marks are all that matters in our meritocracy or myth thereof. If we do believe in that, that means you gotta get the best marks possible, because your marks determine what school you go to. And what school you go to determines what career you get and where you can go in life. And that's all that matters, is making sure you're not winding up living out your mom's basement, right? God fucking forbid. And so that's where we all start, right? It's all from the marks. You gotta get the best marks. You gotta achieve, because otherwise, what else is there in life? For the middle and upper middle class out there, that's all that matters. You gotta get out. You gotta go conquer the world. Get the best marks possible. The rat race is on. And look, I don't want to be all Jordan Peterson, but the rats. But look, okay, I don't give a rat's ass. Okay, we all live it every day. And you see all of that shit going on for marks, right? It's a rat race. So any way you can get ahead is the best way to be, right? So now, next thing you know, everyone's got their own independence learning plan, IAP, IPP, suck my, whatever you want to call her, wherever you're from. Everyone's got one nowadays, because you got to make sure your kid doesn't get behind, because if you don't have your own IAP or whatever the fuck, that means that your kid is now screwed, because if everyone's got one and you don't, now you are behind. That's the issue with the rat race. We're all just cutting off limbs, trying to make sure that we don't fall behind, and now we're all fucking paraplegic, and we've done this to ourselves. It's our fault. And but it's just the rat race. That's how fucking shit goes, okay? Oh, but the rats... Whoa, and then the rats. Sorry, what was I doing again? Right? And now, okay, but if you don't have an IEP or disability, now your kid doesn't get extra time. And all the kids that do doesn't say shit about that on their applications to college. And if anything, that might be a benefit. Oh, look at me. I've overcome trauma. I've overcome all these different hurdles, right? That's what it looks like on paper. It looks better to have help. It looks worse to not have help. That's the society we live in. And so if you don't do that for your kid is now behind and you fucked your kid in a way, right? Yeah, but it doesn't just stop at extra time or IEPs. No. There's a lot more you can do too to get ahead. Sure, you could be antisocial, you could eschew all these other things, but what about performance enhancing drugs, right? Again, if anything, it looks good on paper to be going to a college, applying, saying, I got all this done while having ADHD, right? The fact remains that once a few of you get on it, now if you're not on it, you're behind. Everyone who is on it's going to be able to do more with less and have better results while being able to do other things with their time. It could be small scale too. Like now I am better at this class, so I could dedicate more time to that class. Maybe I could go out with my friends more. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that they will do better and there's nothing you can do to stop it unless you also take the pill. You gotta take that little blue Vyvanse pill because otherwise you are behind, and that's the definition of the rat race. We're all getting fucked in the ass because of it. Because if you don't participate, you are fucked, and there is no sort of societal barrier or safety net to protect you from this. We all just do this to ourselves and each other every day. I've done it. You probably do it. We all fucking do it. Do you do it?
Facts.
And that's the thing though, every day we do this to ourselves and each other. More and more people slip under that knife's edge. Every year, more and more people are getting fucked by it, but I'm not, okay? We aren't, okay? We do what has to be done to make sure we keep our head above water, yes. And then more and more people keep slipping under the fucking water. Under that knife's edge. Even in your career, once you're done all of the institutional stuff, now you're working at a job, all it takes is one fuckhead to decide to work late, and now if you don't, it could be, lack of promotions, they get promoted, I don't, could be grand scale, like if everyone starts doing it, now no one gets any advantage for it, but for the one guy who doesn't do it, now they're getting fired for doing literally what was expected of them on paper, because once everyone starts doing it, everyone's working late, now if you don't work late, you are fired. You see, all it takes is just a few people to opt for that edge, and now you've got to do it too, because otherwise you're gonna fall under that knife's edge and get hacked to pieces. University degrees went through this too, eh? Used to be an edge, now it's just table stakes. And we're all worse off for it. And the worst part is when you get that degree, it comes with expectations, doesn't it? You see, if you aren't doing above average, you're gonna feel like a failure. And the knock-on effects from that are ruinous. Like if you're working at a bar after getting a degree, you're gonna be wondering, what the hell did I spend half $100K in half a decade for, right? I just did that to get a leg behind?
You can have your cake and you can eat it. Make life sweet, it's hard to beat it.
All right, look, I gotta wrap this shit up, but you guys remember how a video or two ago I was making jokes about Neuralink, don't you? You guys understand that's the next edge approaching, right? Now look, I hope and pray that I think I will be of the last generation to slide under the wire and avoid that knife's edge. But look, okay, regardless if you guys can say the same or not, never forget, the knife's edge is always approaching. Prepare to get shaved.
To be so free when you live better electrically.